welcome back to Let's Talk Assassin's Creed, your number one podcast for all things Assassin's Creed. In today's episode, we're going to take a look at where Assassin's Creed can actually go next. But before I dive into this question, because it has a lot of answers, but some that might surprise me, and you possibly, I don't know. I'd like to apologise that I wasn't online yesterday for the podcast. The reason being is we've had a lot of storms in our area where we live, and one of them had decided to knock our internet out for the day. So I had to stick with using my mobile data, chat on social media to let you know, but I wasn't able to use enough of that data to upload it to Spreaker and then host it and monitor that it had gone up. So I delayed it today because I knew it was getting sorted today, and here we are. So enough of me waffling on about why I'm not around, and I do apologise about that. Let's dive in. So, where to next? Well, it's a question everyone's asking, where can we go? We've explored everywhere except feudal Japan, which I have a feeling that we'll be making a feudal Japan. I will just drop it because a lot of fans tell me to shut up because I'm wrong, but I will drop the hint that there's a board game coming out by Creed Venice, which is like a tabletop RPG of Assassin's Creed, and they've got an official canon game mode, part of this tabletop, made by Ubisoft writers, set with Layla Hassan in Tokyo, which is Japan. So why would Layla Hassan go to Japan unless it was a feudal Japan Assassin's Creed, and it's canon to unreleased material, and so far Layla Hassan has only been in games. Put two and two together, we could be getting Assassin's Creed in Japan. But I don't talk about that theory because every fan I've talked to who had that theory have told me to shut up, it's coincidence, it might never happen. Look at Minerva being continued in comics instead of actually the games. I know, but if a tabletop game is making a canon expansion pack from Ubisoft stories that features Layla Hassan and an unnamed assassin in Tokyo, can only mean a feudal Japan, please. We so want it. So enough about that. Let's answer the big question, where to next? And to be honest, I think where to next shouldn't be the past. And I know everyone who plays Assassin's Creed wants to be playing these big historical romps, through history, taking out bad guys. But I would love if they didn't for one game. And what I mean is, we all love that in Assassin's Creed between 1 and 3, you play as Desmond Miles. And a lot of Desmond Miles stuff had mini open stuff to do in the modern day. You had the villa you could explore, you had the actual missions you could do. And I was just thinking, what if they give us a game where it could be a spin-off game? I don't mind, like how Rogue is sort of a spin-off game because it's, directly after Black Flag, ties in with Unity, but technically Unity is the one for the bigger lore, something similar to that, where you do play in the past, but the past maps and history is like linear, like Uncharted or Dark Souls style. It's a linear map with a to B. You do these missions and you gather intel. Best good examples was with the Chronicle games, where it's world. You do the missions, you do it, and every detail you pick up, you then leave the Animus and you go to this big open world hub sort of thing, and you can do contract missions in the real world, and every detail you unlock in the past helps you unlock details in the future. And one little thing I thought would be kind of cool, and I'll try and find the article for my social media because you will like this. Ubisoft director hinted that the next-gen capabilities is powerful enough to host more than one timeline in a game. I think he expressed Origins and Odyssey in one game. And you gotta think that's mad. So what if, hypothetically, where to next is a game set in modern times, you do missions for the assassins, take down Templars, because you're trying to stop a real world threat that's happening now and now. Well, here and now. I don't know why I said now and now. But the twist in the knife, which I kind of like, to get facts, you have to use the Animus to travel to different points in time. Now, each point in time is a linear path, so it's not big open worlds, it's just a linear A to B maybe it doesn't have to be small maps, it could be quite a big mission, maybe each mission takes 5 hours to complete, and there's 10 of them, so that's, say, each mission could takes 5 hours, and there's 10 of them, so that's 50 hours, and then maybe main the main world campaign, so the modern day campaign takes another 10 hours, that's 60, so it's a good sized game, not too much. And could you imagine, let's say, we're hunting for a key to Pandora's box, because Pandora's box is one of my favourite mythological items that I think could be an Isu artifact, maybe it's like got all the diseases that the Isu have never been able to cure in a box, like samples, so as time goes by they try and cure it, but they can't, and we've got to hunt down the key. And to get a fragment of the key, or a key location, you have to go to Crusade times, and you have to battle through a Crusade mission, as an assassin in the Crusade. So you play that mission, you do it, you find details, and you find out that the location is a British vault in the British History Museum. So you leave the Animus, you're in the big open world, you speak to your team, and you then do a mission where you go to Britain in this little map again, and you have to do a stealth-orientated mission. We all love Assassin's Creed stealth missions. Imagine that, to get this vault. And if you don't want to do that, you could then leave the hub and go back in, and you could do little world missions. And now, the best way to describe my idea in my head, and something Ubisoft will never do, and I don't expect it to happen, is imagine a game like Destiny, because Destiny's the best example, where you have a main world hub, and let's call that our assassin base. We can learn about history, and then each mission, each time zone we have to go to is precisely one of those like strikes or playlist sort of missions. It's a little world, do a mission, you run through it. But imagine like loads of them to get key fragments, and there's this huge story. Or you can just explore the location you're in and do missions around that area. So maybe you're in a city that's heavily fortified, and you can do little missions. You can go for new contracts. You go to a new location, and it's another procedural generated map or something, or one that's already been built. You explore it, and I mean, it just gives this sense of, I love the past. I love this big open world, but I would love to play a game where the impact of your decision is more felt. With Desmond Miles, we knew what we were getting with the Apple of Eden. We saw the Apple of Eden in power. We saw its effect. But really, Black Flag, we didn't see much of the impact of the observatory for the future, what would happen. We never have since then. We know that. We know with Desmond, from 1 till 3, that what everybody wanted, the Apple of Eden, and they could see the effect it had on the real world afterwards, because he had it. And that was nice, it actually synced. But since then, it doesn't really sync, in my eyes, Layla Hassan, when she was playing Origins, the only thing that kind of linked the past and the present was the Hidden Blade and the remains. There was no, no interweave, as I'm trying to get my words out. Odyssey did have the staff, that was handy, so it was kind of cool to see past and present interact in a way, and maybe if we had something like that, that'd be really cool. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a main game, it could be a spin-off, or, and I'm probably going to get shut down for this, a spin-off, again, but an MMO spin-off. Shoot me down if you want, that's fine, but imagine what I just described, but you do it with teammates. Imagine it's like an ARPG, as Assassin's Creed, you do missions with all your team, you play dungeons that are actually just missions, you take a team of your brotherhood, and you go and you track down all these to stop this big real world threat. And could you imagine creating your own brotherhood team? Come on, that would just be sick. So it never happened because Assassin's Creed is a story-based game, but imagine an MMO aspect, which is exactly what I'm trying to avoid calling it, because I don't want to get shut down by some fans that might think it's a bit of a daft. But I would love to see multiple times, many times on maps, in Dark Souls style, procedurally generated, or whatever you decide to do, and then build it up, and maybe an MMO where everyone can help out. This would be cool, because then we can see the cause and the effect of your actions in the past. And I know you're not time travel, but it's the memories but you could see how much of an impact the memories had on the present. And the last idea I thought where we could go, and it's the last one I'll discuss tonight, is a very good one, but what if we finally got to go back to before the first catastrophe, all the way back to Adam and Eve during the 10-year revolution? And I know everyone say, but it's not an Assassin's Creed game. It doesn't have assassins. Yes, technically it won't have assassins, I understand, but it will be Isu oriented. We know Adam and Eve escaped from the Isu lab. They were the first to gain, immunity to the Apple of Eden. Their pinnacle point in Assassin's Creed lore to why assassins and the Triple Helix and why some assassins like Desmond were able to not be corrupt by them, how Layla is not corrupt by them, and Cassandra and all these people, it's so connected. And I just think, if Odyssey can show us Isu, why can't we have another one? But this time we go back to where it began, and we get to play out history in a big way. Before the catastrophe, we can see this Isu in full effect. I do understand it'll be heavily fantasy oriented because we know their technology. It'd be heavily sci-fi because of the technology. But to me, it would be amazing to play a descendant of a human that lived in that era and how humans had to evolve, to use Isu technology to fight back. And for me, that'll be epic. I understand that we know they're going to get wiped out because of the Great Catastrophe, but some survived. So what if one of the ancestors survived? And I think that's just kind of epic. One of the ancestors survived, and maybe they hold answers to a clue that's been hidden in plain sight. We never know. It's something they could touch upon. And I know people do say the Isu stories are too fancy and they don't belong in Assassin's Creed as the Odyssey. But I think we should look at the bigger picture that Assassin's Creed is Isu, Templar, and Assassin's Creed. And maybe seeing Adam and Eve in the Isu time would be pretty cool and actually pretty an interesting twist on a formula we've come to love. So that's all we've got time for tonight. I want to thank you all for popping in. I've really enjoyed tonight's episode again. My kids are back at school tomorrow, so I'm going to be back on track to making scripts. I've just been spending too much time this week with my kids, so my scripting's been a bit off. But I love my kids to bits, and I'll happily stop doing scripts just to play with them because they're my little assassin buddies. The way they steal food from under your nose, they are little assassins at times. Thank you all for tuning in, and